To the Workings of Karma lecture series. This is based on the book by the same name. The program structure is as follows. First, we start off with meditation. This is followed by the lecture. We have a questions and answers session scheduled after the lecture. After the questions and answers session, we conclude the program. For the questions and answers session, please post your questions in the Facebook and YouTube chat or comment section in the live video. This program continues on every Wednesday at the same time, that is, 2 p.m. Coordinated Universal Time or Greenwich Mean Time. This translates to 7:30 p.m. Sri Lanka and India time. Please note and convert this time to your local time and join us every week for this enlightening Dharma talks series by a very erudite monk. Today's lecturer has a bachelor's degree in Buddhist philosophy and religious studies from the Buddhist and Pali University of Sri Lanka. Also, the Venerable has studied under guidance of notable teachers for 5 years. Now we invite the Most Venerable Teacher to start the meditation session, followed by the Dharma talk and questions and answers session. The meditation session will start now. This will be followed by the lecture.
Okay, so let's get into it. So I think we can sit in a comfortable meditation posture. Make sure your back is erect, side cast down. Let's take 10 minutes of meditation. And when our back is erect and we see the floor in front of us or whatever is there in front of us, we can make the first determination in our minds voicelessly. From now on, for 10 minutes, I will meditate on muscles and radiate loving kindness without any movement. From now on, for 10 minutes, I will meditate on muscles and radiate loving kindness without any movement. From now on, for 10 minutes, I will meditate on muscles and radiate loving kindness without any movement. With that determination, we can gently, lovingly notice there's a flat piece of sinew at the top of the head. We allow it to be heavy as the element of earth, and we also allow it to be changing, which is the characteristic of impermanence. And we then continue in allowing heaviness and change in the other muscles and sinews throughout the body, to the forehead, eyes, nose, lips, chin, cheeks, ears, back of the head, we allow all of the muscles and sinews throughout the head to be heavy and changing. We continue to the neck, shoulders, arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, palms, fingers, tips of fingers, chest, abdomen, back. We allow all of the muscles and sinews throughout the upper part of the body to be heavy and changing. And we can accept the change, impermanence, transition that happens throughout the body. And we thus allow the body to be the way it is. And we enjoy the freedom we get as we give freedom to the body to be the way it is. We watch this freedom. We explore this peace. And when we are established in our peace, we can share it with other living beings. So in our minds, voicelessly, we can wish, we can allow. May all beings in this room be in peace. And we can gradually expand our thought of loving kindness. May all beings in this building be in peace. May all beings in this village be in peace. May all beings in this country be in peace. May all beings on this continent be in peace. May all beings on this planet be in peace. May all beings, including me, be in peace. Now, because the time for this sitting is finished, let's make the last determination in our minds voicelessly. From now on, I will always be calm. From now on, I will always be calm. From now on, I will always be calm. And with that determination, we can slowly, mindfully change the way of our sitting. All right. So I think we can move on to the lecture.
Will start now. A questions and answers session will be held after the lecture. Post your questions in the Facebook and YouTube chat or comments section.
Okay. So I'm not able to see the stream. I'm not able to see the stream of my screen. I'm not really sure whether it's visible to everybody. Okay, that's definitely better. So we're talking about Dhamma and about the problem of maintaining Dhamma from moment to moment. I explained that we do not really have explanation available in our scriptures, or at least up to my knowledge, how Dhamma would be is maintained from moment to moment. And I've suggested that this is not a problem because maybe Dhamma actually doesn't have to be maintained. Maybe it is non-local, so to speak. So it means that Dhamma does not have to be traced across the time. and still it provides the result, it provides the consequence at the time when the time comes. All right, so let's continue to a new point. We will be talking a little bit more in concepts today, and we will be talking about how the world gets destroyed in the conceptual sense. So you will be hearing here some stories you may not like to believe, but as my teacher in Myanmar says, we don't care what people believe, we say what's in the scriptures. Okay, so we have here a quote: "There will come a time, bhikkhus, when the great ocean dries up, evaporates, and is no more." So we are here talking about the so-called 7 suns. 7 suns are rather 7 levels of scorching the earth at the end of the world. Unlike the end of the world as probably believed by many, in Buddhism, end of the world is just yet another end of the world, which is succeeded by a start of a new world. So in Buddhism, we have this idea that actually the world is destroyed, a new one arises, that happens, and then it's destroyed again, and then a new one arises, that happens, and then it's destroyed again, and so on and on and on. And so we distinguish actually 4 periods of the world, 4 main periods. And that is arising of the world, existence of the world, destruction of the world, absence of the world. So we have 4 levels like this. Something like you have spring is getting ready for summer, then there is the summer, then autumn is getting ready for winter, and then winter. Something like that, except much more destructive. And this would be related only to the world. So the other worlds, and the Buddha did not provide answer whether there are infinity of worlds or whether they are finite. But the Buddha has suggested that there are many, many other worlds. And while our world might be destroyed, there may be other worlds that are not destroyed at that moment. And according to 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃, which is a great master in Myanmar, believed to be an arahant, but he doesn't live anymore, he suggested that when the world is going to be destroyed, the beings who are in hells, in animal realm, in ghost realm, who do not somehow make it to the world of Brahmas to stay there during the destruction of the world, they will actually be destroyed with the destruction of the world, and they will be born in the hell, animal realm, or ghost realm in another world, not in time, but in place. So they would be they would just appear in some other world and not in this one. So because there are many worlds at the same time happening, while this world would be destroyed, they would be reborn or reappeared somewhere else in another world. All right, but we do not really have any citation for that suggestion, and I think we will be talking about this a little in detail today. So the world will be destroyed in one of 3 ways: by fire, water, or wind. How often does it get destroyed by fire? Almost every time. Every 4th time it gets destroyed by water, and every 16th time it gets destroyed by wind. So, these are just for your information. These numbers in italics are referencing the citations, and they should be somewhere at the end of the book. If they are not in italics, like here, this number 16, that references the footnote. Okay, so 100,000 years beforehand, certain sky devas will appear before people with disheveled hair and pitiful faces, wiping their tears with their hands. They will announce the end of the world and urge people to develop the four divine abidings, 𝗀𝗶𝗸𝗲𝗃. So these are mainly meditation techniques and attainments, namely loving kindness, metta, compassion, karuna, sympathetic joy, also known as altruistic joy, mudita, and equanimity, 𝗀𝗶𝗸𝗲. And the people are supposed to develop them to get jhana, not just to think, oh, may everybody be happy, but here the idea is that people will be attaining jhanas, and with these jhanas they will be born in a Brahma world. So some of the Brahma worlds are destroyed, some of them are not during the destruction of the world. Always the first Brahma world is destroyed when the world is destroyed by fire. When it's by water, the first and second Brahma world are destroyed, and when it is destroyed by wind, the first, second, and third Brahma world are destroyed. And here we are not really talking about the Brahma planes, but we are talking about the Brahma worlds. So we have 20 Brahma planes, and these 20 Brahma planes can be summarized into 8 Brahma worlds. So the plane 1 to 3 are actually one Brahma world. Plane 4, 5, 6 of Brahmas is actually one Brahma world, the Brahma world number 2. Plane 7, 8, 9 is the third Brahma world. And then plane 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 is the fourth, 14, 15, 16 is the fourth Brahma world. And then we have 4 more, which are the so-called immaterial worlds. Each of them are very different. So we have 20 Brahma worlds in detail, but 8 Brahma worlds in fact, or in brief. And every destruction involves or includes the first Brahma world, so the first 3 Brahma planes. Every fourth destruction of the world, which is done by water, involves the first and the second Brahma world, so Brahma planes 1 to 6. Every third destruction of the world, every 16th destruction of the world, that is every destruction by wind, involves also the Brahma worlds 7, 8, and 9. Probably the worlds higher, the 4th Brahma worlds are also destroyed, but at this moment I'm not exactly sure when and how. What is sure 100% is that the highest 4 Brahma worlds, the Brahma worlds 17, 18, 19, 20, the so-called immaterial worlds, are never destroyed. Yes, these are worlds which are never destroyed. But that, I think, should be quite obvious, because these are immaterial worlds. There is no matter that could be destroyed, and therefore they're not destroyed. They're only mind-made. So let's see a little bit more about this deity that comes up and announces the end of the world. So we need to be careful. Like, many people are running around the world and they're weeping and wailing that the world is going to be destroyed. But probably not because this would be true or because they have psychic powers, but because they want more money and fame. Now, in this case, however, the 𝗀𝗂𝗶𝗸𝗲, which are literally the deities that gather the world, that have the ability to gather the world or to provide information to a large group of people, they are true deities. And apparently it's not just one, there are several. We learned that they're from sensual spheres. In other words, they're not Brahmas. And it seems that that these deities have some psychic powers through which they know that the world is going to be destroyed. Some teachers say that it's the Brahmas who announce the end of the world. And these would be actually the Brahmas of the worlds for non-returners, of the worlds for those who have achieved third level of enlightenment, anagamis. So whoever they are, they encourage the people first to engage in the four Brahma Viharas, so to radiate loving kindness, to be compassionate, to rejoice of others' success, and to understand that all beings experience suffering and pleasure based on their previous actions. So these are the four so-called noble abidings, and they further advise people to look after their parents and to honor their elders. So here we have some kind of like basics on how to be born in heaven. So if you want to be born in heaven, these 6 things can be done and increase the probability of your success. In Buddhism, we do not really have, except very special exceptions, certainty. Everything is only about probabilities. And I think this is great because when you have it about probabilities, there's a little bit more hope and a little bit more effort. When you think that it's 100% sure you'll go to heaven, there will not be that much effort. It is 100% sure that we'll be born as humans or as deities or as Brahmas if we have achieved at least the first level of enlightenment. It is 100% sure that we will be born in a Brahma world if we have stabilized a jhana attainment and we will die with that attainment, with that potential of attaining it. It is also 100% sure that we will be born in hell if we killed our mother, father, an arahant that's fully enlightened person, if we have injured the Buddha, or if we have split the Sangha. But apart from these very special cases, it is not sure. It is not sure. The Buddha has clearly said that there are people who break the 5 precepts, revile enlightened beings, and have a wrong view, and still they're actually born in heaven. And that there are people who do not break the 5 precepts, who do not revile enlightened people, and who do have right view, and still they get born in hell. So as you can see, it's all about probabilities. But of course, the probability for somebody who follows 5 precepts and is kind and polite and respectful towards enlightened beings, and also has the right view, the probability for them to be born in heaven or as a human is much, much higher than for somebody who breaks the 5 precepts. So we could say that Buddhism is not deterministic. And I would say Buddhism is scarily not deterministic. So, in other words, in Buddhism, the world and life and death are dangerous. And understanding the danger, we get ordained and we become monks. And 𝗷𝗶𝗸𝗲𝗲 bhikkhu, because he sees the danger, he becomes a monk. And then as monks, and if not, at least as lay people, we all strive to get free from this scarily undeterministic world. All right, so most people will take these words to heart and practice. We do not really have, or I haven't seen it, because I haven't read all of those 130 books of our scriptures, which would be the Burmese edition of the Pali scriptures, commentaries and subcommentaries. But up to my understanding, up to my knowledge, we do not really have an explanation for those who do not make it to the Brahma world by the time of the destruction of the world. So I have already provided some suggestions of 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗲, and 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗲 doesn't seem to provide a reference. So what we get here is, I think, yet another suggestion. Let me see. So most people will take these words to heart and practice loving kindness towards each other, and in other ways accomplish wholesome karma. Those who are able will develop jhana. Those who are unable to develop jhana will, because of their past wholesome karma, be reborn in the Deva world as devas, as gods. They will then develop jhana as deities in the heaven, and then they will be born in Brahma world. So in the end, all of them actually should end up in the Brahma world. And those who do not end up in Brahma world, what will happen to them? Let's see, where do I have that? Probably here. The beings who are reborn in hell as a result of persistent wrong views do not escape. Dependent on ignorance and craving, the karmic potency of their persistent wrong view causes them to be reborn in a world interest is hell. Oh yes, that's the other theory. So world interest is hell. Where is it? No idea. Totally no idea. Where could that be? World interest is hell is a special hell that's positioned between the worlds. But be careful. World interest is hell is a very special hell that is characterized by total darkness. Total darkness. Where is total darkness in the universe? We don't know of total darkness. So we are not actually aware, or well, we who are curious about reading world scientists right now, but scientists are apparently not aware of a place where you would have total darkness, because the light is traveling here and there, and we just get the light everywhere if we, of course, do not cover ourselves by something. So we do actually have light everywhere. So where could this interest is held be? According to our scriptures, it seems rather that the world is flat. Well, galaxy is flat, and the solar system is also flat. So the fact that it says the world is flat doesn't really mean anything much yet, except that the world is flat plus many, many, many more characteristics, such as that the world that is flat is circumambulated. That means there is something that turns around this world every day. And what is it? It's the sun and moon. What is the sun or moon that turns around the galaxy every day? What is the sun and moon that turns around the solar system? I worry that there is no sun or moon that turns around the galaxy or solar system and make light for the solar system or galaxy. And so we are back on Earth, and we know that according to the ancient scriptures, the sun and moon that are going around the planet Earth are actually going around a flat plane. Whether they really believe that the world is flat, or whether this was just the way how to prepare people to listen to Dhamma through somewhat accommodating the then view so that people are more open to listen, rather as a psychological technique to gain some kind of connection and understanding, that we don't know, or I don't know it. So, for example, suppose that you believe that the earth is round, and I believe that the earth is flat. Well, I don't believe it, but suppose in this example that I believe that the earth is flat. Now I want to explain to you the impermanence of the world. And whether the world is flat or round doesn't really matter to me. And it doesn't matter on your path towards getting free from all suffering. So in that case, I will come up to you and I say, you know what? The world is round. That's what you believe, right? And you say, of course, that's the way it is. And then I will say, this world that you believe is round is impermanent. It is much easier to explain it to you than if I come up to you and I say, you know what? The world is flat. And you'll say, what? You don't know that the world is round? What are you saying here? You don't even know that the world is round. I'm not going to listen to such a nonsense. Goodbye. And you won't be listening to any of my suggestions about impermanence. So in those times, I wonder if the world as flat was explained not because the world would be flat or because somebody of those teachers would really believe it, but rather as a way to gain connection to the people. Because if the Buddha went around and said that the world is round, nobody would, maybe somebody, but most of the people would say, oh, this Buddha, he doesn't even have this basic knowledge of astrophysics that everybody here has. And that is that the world is flat. The Buddha doesn't even know that the world is flat, and he will be going to talk to us something that nobody can know, or that's not that obvious. Well, we are not going to listen to such a person. And so the people would not be actually willing to listen to any of the Dhamma teachings, simply because the Buddha would tell them that the world is round. So that's, for the time being, the way how I understand it. So this is the thing. And the interest is a hell that's between these pancake worlds. So imagine that you have pancakes and they're flying in the air. And now there's space between these pancakes. And so in this space between those pancakes, there would be hell. And it would be particularly hellish by its darkness. But it's also hellish by other features, but we're not going to go and get into that today. So that's what it means. And these pancakes, they all have borders. And these borders are marked by 9 mountain ranges that surround the inner portion of the world. And in the center of the world, in the center of that pancake, there is a huge mountain that is about 840,000 miles high, so 84,000 yojanas, and 840,000 miles further, it is submerged underwater. It is surrounded by water, by oceans, which are very beautiful. At the top, there is a heaven. There is the heaven of the so-called 33. And right below the top, on the mountain, right below the top of the mountain, on 4 sides, there are 4 worlds of different divine beings, such as dragons and ogres and strange ghost-like beings that have very large testes and bulging eyes and bulging belly. And there are also and there is also one more kind of beings that doesn't come to my mind. So there are these dragons, ogres, these hot testes beings, as they're called, kumbhanda, and one more. And these beings live on that mountain. And at the foot of the mountain, above the surface of the ocean, there are another beings called asuras, who were thrown off a cliff, were thrown off the top of the mountain Meru. by the king of gods, Sakka, also known as Indra. And at this moment, they live at the foot of the mountain Meru, right above the surface of the ocean. And they're happy there. A huge, beautiful palace appeared there for them through their good actions that they did in a previous life. And so they enjoy it there. Especially they enjoy the view on the ocean. So these are some of the beings that live on the mountain Meru, also known as Sineru. Proper pronunciation would be Meru rather than Meru. So Meru or Sineru is in the center of the pancake world. And around this mountain, there are 4 islands. And we, humans of this island, are supposed to live on the southern island, also known as 𝗀𝗶𝗸𝗲, the island of rose apple tree. There are 3 more islands, which are very characteristic by the fact that humans on those islands and their human worlds, humans there have fixed lifespan. For example, in the northern island, the human's lifespan is supposed to be 1,000 years. So they live 1,000 years. They're born, then they live 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, 200, 300, 500, 600, 800, 900, 1,000 years. And they die after they lived 1,000 years. And there's one of the other two islands has people who live 500 years, and the other one 250 years. This information about the island and ages and so on is provided in our commentaries. It's not provided by the Buddha himself. But the Buddha did mention about the mountain Meru, that it has 84,000 yojanas, and that it is above the surface of the ocean. We can be pretty sure that if it is somewhere, this mountain, it can be on the surface of Earth. Because see, if you fly up after 100 miles, you find yourself in the space. And if the mountain has 840,000 miles height, well, then compared to the Earth, we'd have to say that it's not the mountain that's on the Earth, but it's the Earth that's like a birthmark, or what would you call it? Birthmark, yes, that's the correct word. So it's like a birthmark on the mountain. So the planet Earth is so small in comparison to the mountain Sineru, as described by the Buddha himself, that it could be a little wart. That's the word I was searching for. W-A-R-T, wart, on the mountain. So small is our planet. So this takes me to the idea that maybe actually the world is totally different. Maybe it is that our world is just that what we know, that what we see, is just a kind of a habitat to which you would arrive if you entered the southern island, as if there was a spiritual portal through which you would enter in the southern island and you would come up. Now it tells me that connection is lost. I'm not sure whether we are connected. It says that we are reconnecting. Let me see. So let me see whether we are actually connected. Seems like we are lost. Okay, I will continue anyway. So the thing is that we do not really know whether or how the world is. The world, when we start to try to understand it, becomes a little bit intriguing. The Buddha therefore suggested, monks, do not think about the world. Buddha provided an example, which I think is not very relevant here, and he says, monks, it is not possible for you to understand the world. Even if you thought about the world throughout your life, you would not be able to understand it. Either you would die without understanding it, or you could become mad. So as you can see, the topic of the world is much more complicated than it seems to be. A very interesting thing that I just read some time ago is this comparison between our brain and the full astronomical nature. So actually the astronomical nature seems to be very similar to the nature of our brain. As if we are looking into us when we are looking into the space. Those are very new philosophical ideas based on scientific evidence. But maybe it's totally wrong and tomorrow we'll learn something else. But to me, it seems almost as if when we are looking into the space and trying to find the world, we actually find out those things that we find when we look into the body. So we do not really explore anything. We don't really find anything. We don't really get to know anything. We only find out how we know nothing, how we are blocked and stuck in our perception and feelings. All right, so this is the second idea. All right, right after 𝗀𝗂𝗃𝗀𝗯𝗀, who suggests that those beings are simply born in a different world, here 𝗀𝗂𝗃𝗀𝗯𝗀 is suggesting that the beings are born in the world of, in the so-called world interstice hell, which is the world of darkness. But 𝗀𝗂𝗃𝗀𝗯𝗀 here does not provide any reference, so we do not really know whether this is a reliable information or not. Then the water. Okay, so we get here some more information about how the destruction happens. After a long period, a great cloud appears and heavy rain falls throughout the 100,000 million, and I have made it red because we get here a Pali word, and the Pali word contains a number which is different from the English word, so it's rather just a translation problem. The word that we have here, 𝗀𝗂𝗃𝗀𝗃, is not 100,000. It is actually million. Okay, so it's million of million. God is 10 million times 100. So you're just adding up the zeros. So this is 10 million. So that's 7 zeros plus 2 zeros is 9 zeros plus 3 zeros is 12 zeros. So it is 12 zeros. 1 followed by 12 is not 100,000 million. It is the so-called 1,000 billions, or in the European reckoning, it is a trillion. All right, so people sow crops, but when the crops have grown high enough for an ox to graze, the rain stops. With no more rain, all plants dry up and are no more, and there is soon famine. Human beings die, and so do earth devas. So those are gods who live on earth, who do not live in heavens. But they are still understood as deities because they're very different from humans, and they're rather more similar to the deities in the heaven. Probably by the fact that they have longer lifespan and enjoy only sensual pleasures, or mostly just sensual pleasures, for they live on flowers and fruits. They are reborn in the Deva world, and as Devas they develop Kasina Jhana, and then with the Jhana they are born as Brahmas, and they avoid the destruction of the world. The water in the world begins to evaporate, and fish, turtles, and other creatures that live in water die. They are reborn in the Deva world, where they develop jhana, and then guess what? They die and are born in the Brahma world. According to a law of nature, also the beings in hell escape from hell and are reborn in the human world. There they develop loving kindness and so on. Then they are born as gods. There they develop jhana, and then they are born as Brahmas to avoid the destruction. After a long period without rain, by the time all beings have been reborn elsewhere, a second sun appears. So we are here talking about the so-called 7 suns, or 7 periods of scorching the earth. As one sun sets, the other rises, so there is no more telling night from day. The world is continuously scorched by the heat of the two suns. Streams and smaller rivers dry up. We know from the scientific theories that at one point the sun, our sun, starts to be hotter and hotter and hotter, and it will actually scorch the earth. But I don't think that by that time there will be any living being available to go through this scorching. But of course, these are just personal opinions. And moreover, if the sun, if it's the way how the scientists suggest, then this would not be a destruction of the world at all. It would just be another beautiful transformation, but not destruction. You could say, well, it's destruction, right? Because the beings will be scorched to death. And I'd say, no, because the sun has no effect on the deity worlds. Then let alone on the Brahma world, which are totally above this coarse level of 4. So even if the sun blasts, up to my understanding, of course I could be wrong, but up to my understanding, even if our sun blasts, this should not affect at all the Brahma world. But still the first Brahma world, or the first 3 levels of Brahmas, should be entirely destroyed in the process. So I think we are not really here talking about the star, the sun, blasting. We are here talking about something else. What? Hard to tell. After yet another very long period, a third sun appears, and now also the great rivers dry up. A fourth sun appears, and the great lakes dry up. A fifth sun appears, and also the seas dry up. A sixth sun appears, and now the great Mount Sinero, or the Mount Meru that I was talking about, and the very earth itself begin to burn. A seventh sun appears, and now everything bursts into flames, into one sheet of flame. Powerful winds carry the fire right up to the Brahma worlds, and just as burning ghee or oil leave no ashes, so the burning Mount Sinero and earth leave no ashes either. The Buddha concludes by explaining that only a noble one will believe his teaching about the impermanence of the earth and mountain scenario. We are not here talking about those details. I don't think that the Buddha wanted us to believe those details. The main point here is the belief in impermanence of the world itself, because the world is big and looks quite stabilized. The commentary explains that it is because a noble one has comprehensive faith in the Buddha and has discerned dependent origination. So we have here some geographic information that's very unrelated to our topic. And let's continue. So you can understand this explanation of the seven sons, I believe, much easier if you imagine the world as a flat pancake, or I like to say as a pizza, because pizza has a very nice edge, and that's nicely reminiscent of the 9 mountain ranges. Pizza does not have usually anything in the center, so still it's not really reminiscent of the world as it was imagined in the Buddha's time, because in the center you get this mountain marrow which is so huge that the pizza would be a tiny little skirt, a tiny little skirt of a ballet lady, because it's just nothing in comparison to the huge scope, to the huge size of Mountain Meru. We do have some. We do also have some measurements for the girth of the world of the pancake, but at this moment, I'm not having it with me. If you're interested, let me know in the question, and I'll get that ready for the next time. Okay, so that's how you can have all the world burning and so on. Like, how do you get burning space, or how do you get burning black hole? And is there actually black hole? And what happens with the black hole? The scientists are not really sure. We are having just a few theories. So as you could see, probably I like to look at the world and information as skeptically as possible, but still you may disagree with my ideas and with my skepticism. Let me know in the comments. That helps me. So that is enough for today, because we have run through the basic conceptual idea of the destruction of the world, and that was what I was intending for today. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll get ready the answer.
Questions and answers session will start now. Post your questions in the Facebook and YouTube chat or comments section.
Okay, so I'm seeing some questions, so I think we can move on to that. Okay, so first question. How does the description of the world... Yes, I see. I need to stop this sharing. Okay, here we are. Black screen. How does the description of the end of the world help or contribute to liberation? It does, actually, immensely, because it helps us that everything is impermanent. There is nothing you can do for the world that will stay. Does it mean you should do nothing for the world? No, we do our best. Let's see, I'm trying to do something here, but I'm not that familiar with the system yet. Oh, here it is. No, seems like I'm not having those abilities to make my video a little bit bigger. So for the time being, that's what we are having. Anyway, the destruction of the world. This story, this information is very important for us because we can realize that everything is impermanent. And if we can realize, if we can believe, if we can trust the world, that trust the Buddha, that the world is impermanent, that it gets destroyed, well, then compare it to yourself, and you will see how insignificant, how nothing, how irrelevant am I, how totally fleeting nothing am I. In comparison to the destruction of the world, I am nothing. It's a little dangerous to say that I'm useless, but in comparison, in the time scale, me is a little moment that comes and goes. Imagine you were the world yourself, and then something would appear that would be as long and as small, I mean, as short and as small as a human being is in this world. You would barely notice that something just flashed and left. So, in comparison to the world, we are nothing. We are totally useless nothing. And I think this helps us to understand how insignificant we are, and through this insignificance, to reduce our attachment, reduce our conceit. And conceit is removed at the highest level of enlightenment. So if you can start reducing your conceit, you're getting pretty high, you're aiming pretty high if you start working on your conceit. And I think this teaching on destruction of the world helps us immensely in reducing our conceit. Scientists talk about the Earth as the so-called blue marble, because in comparison to the other planets and stars, the planet Earth is very tiny. It's very tiny. But I would like to consider also the time scale. The scientists also provide that in a very nice way, but the time scale, I think, here is pretty telling. It shows us how we are nothing in comparison to the world, and still the world gets destroyed. If the world gets destroyed, then what about me? So that's how I think, that's how it contributes to me on my way. Okay, next question. What is the difference between the Brahma world and the Brahma plane? Yes, so it's the same thing, world and plane, but I have provided a linguistic suggestion, not at all semantic, linguistic only, so that we distinguish the two things. That means the Brahma worlds in brief, those 8 worlds, they are 8 most importantly because you get to them based on your 8 jhanas, 8 levels of deep concentration. So if you achieve the first jhana, you get to one of the first 3. If you get the second jhana as a human, in the next life you will get to one of the second 3. If you achieve here the third jhana, the third level of deep concentration, you will get to one of the third 3. If you achieve the fourth jhana, you will get to one of the 7. And if you achieve the 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th jhana, you will get to the Brahma world 17, 18, 19, or 20. So I have suggested that we call the particular Burmese world, Brahma world as planes, and the worlds in brief, we call them as worlds, but it's the same thing. You may like to know that the three Brahma worlds, the three Brahma planes, which make up the first Brahma world, the three Brahma planes which make up the second Brahma world, the three Brahma planes which make up the third Brahma world, and one Brahma plane which makes up the fourth Brahma world, are actually the beings live together. So those three, they live together. They're like the kings, ministers, and the people there. But they're not people, they're Brahmas. And in the second main Brahma world, you get, again, kings, ministers, and the normal Brahmas, or ordinary Brahmas. And then you get, in the third main Brahma world, you get, again, kings, ministers, ordinary Brahmas. In the fourth Brahma world, it's a little complicated. You get, the fourth Brahma world consists of Brahmas who are just normal Brahmas in the fourth plane, but then we have special kinds of Brahmas who are just sleeping huge bodies, and they do not have any mind. They're just matter. But this matter arose as a consequence of meditating fourth jhana, with the idea that mind causes suffering, and therefore wish for eradication of mind. So those people then die, and they're born as these sleeping bodies for 500 world periods, or 500 kappas. In Burma, in Myanmar, one kappa is the word kappa is exactly the same as the word for world. So that's why I say 500 world periods, but it actually can be more, because kappa, the eon, is of several kinds. And then there are 5 Brahma worlds for beings who became non-returners in the previous life, and now they're born there in these special Brahma worlds, so-called pure abodes, the worlds of purity. And then we have the 4 immaterial worlds that I have mentioned. So let's move on to the next world. Next question. Bhante, is the pancake world a form of dimensionality reduction for simplicity? Maybe. We don't know. And that was my question, because, we can talk about these things, and what we will get. Will we get at least a jhana or enlightenment? We get nothing. Totally useless talk. So the Buddha suggests, do not think about the world. I love to talk about it, because I feel like people who are skeptic, they would like to know how do the Buddhist scriptures deal with this. But in the end, you can always expect from me that I will say this: we don't really know, and it's not important. So, next question. These ogres describe some form of aliens. Absolutely not. If there are aliens, and I find it really hard to believe that there are aliens, believe it or not, because of Carl Sagan's special machine that was sent into the space. Okay, Carl Sagan has sent the Voyager, which is a special kind of machine that is flying far, far away from our Earth, with the idea that aliens will come and read it. So, as you can see, the astronomers, they're working so hard to find aliens, but they're not successful. And then people who are not astronomers somehow are able to find aliens. Something doesn't work well there. Why would astronomers not be able to find aliens? Astronomers who are looking in the sky all the time, while humans who are not astronomers, who don't understand the thing, see aliens. Something's not right in here. Ogres are totally not related to anything related to extraterrestrials, to beings who live outside of the Earth. Ogres are simply a different kind of living beings on Earth. And I believe that you can see some of the ogres in national, how do you call it? You will see them in, how's that called? It's a kind of museum with biology. I forgot how do you call that. It is a museum where you can see, I think, isn't that called like National History Museum or something like this? I'm missing that word. In the UK, there's a museum. Some of you may remember. Somehow it doesn't come up to my mind. I don't know why. So there is a museum in the UK, and you can find there a skeleton of a dinosaur and probably several skeletons of dinosaurs, but one is very big and very famous. And then you get there various other biological things to see, and specimens that were archaeologically discovered. But you will also see there an ogre. It's called 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗶𝗲𝗃. Gigant, because it's gigant, and pithecus, because it's similar to human. It's not a human, it's not a monkey, and it's huge, and it's fluffy. But unlike in our scriptures where ogres devour deers and humans, this 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃 that we find in the National History Museum, is that possible? Probably is. National History Museum, yes, it's actually correct. So this National History Museum houses one specimen of 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃, a huge being, fluffy, and quite scary. But it seems that it did not actually eat humans, unlike what our scriptures say. But there could be 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃 that did eat humans. So we don't know. And there were quite a few 𝗀𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃 throughout the world, and they have different names, and there are various remnants of their bodies. So I wonder whether they are what is called ogres in our scriptures. Basically a competition to humans. But humans didn't like them to compete, so they killed them all. So they're killed, and so we don't see them. So that's what I think was an ogre. Whether they really ate humans or not, we cannot really tell, from a few teeth that were found in a Chinese cave. There were surely many more, and I don't see any reason why would all of them have to be vegetarians. So that was about ogres. Is Mount Meru a black hole at the center of the universe? Cannot be. Cannot be, because Mountain Meru is surrounded by water. Black hole is not surrounded by water. There must be 84,000 yojanas, which I count as 840,000 miles, above some level, and another 840,000 yojanas of it must be submerged below that level. But the black hole does not have any level. above which it could be and below which it could be. Doesn't have to be water, could be anything else, but there is nothing. So it cannot be black hole. And moreover, we would need to have these 9 mountain ranges. And we need one more thing. We need earthquake. We need earthquake in the galaxy such that the Earth is supported by water, the water is supported by air, and that air is surrounded by space. Now, if you take galaxy, all of those planets, we could say, okay, you know what? They are like the Earth. And then the space is like the water. No problem. But where do you have the air? And then, where do you have the space around the air? We are running out of arguments. Cannot. And moreover, you would need the sun and moon that run around the galaxy. We don't have that. And you're supposed to be able to see the sun that runs around the galaxy from the opposite side. Our scriptures say that when you're standing in the east, you see the sun, that it is setting in the west. And when you're standing in the west, you see the sun setting in the east. We don't have that kind of phenomenon or characteristic in the galaxy. So Mountain Meru cannot be a black hole. And black hole is not in the center of the universe, or probably not. Can we think the islands are analogous to modern-day galactic quadrant? Yes, I've already answered. No way, because if the islands were analogous to the modern-day quadrant, galactic quadrant, it would mean that the Mountain Meru would have to be the black hole, and so we are running into searching for the air layer and the space around, because we would be taking the planets as Earth and the space as water. So then, what will we consider as the air, and what will we then consider as the space? And then we need the 9 mountain ranges that run all around, and also we need the sun and moon running around every day. Now somebody is saying this article, there are over 700 quintillion planets in the universe, but there's no place like home. Looks like the Buddhist estimate of habitable planets. No, not at all. In Buddhism, a habitable planet must have humans. If humans are not there, it's not really understood as a world. There must be humans or some beings. Otherwise, it would be emerging to have humans, but their own, not traveling from somewhere else. And no, we don't have that. At this moment, we are Okay, seems like I'm back. All right, so I have lost. No, I have not. So we have. So now I'm not exactly sure where we finished, but yeah, my main point is that you cannot really think of the galaxy as the world in the Buddhist point of view, because we will be running into some other problems. But I have already talked about this problem that galaxy cannot be the human world in our scriptures with actually the proponent of this theory. He's a Burmese gentleman, and he gave a lecture on that. So I had a very wild discussion with him, very heated discussion with him through email, and in the end, he actually agreed that he is wrong. The theory is still out there and people believe it because that's the way it is. But he himself, the proponent of this theory, who did a lecture on this, I think in the UK, he agreed in emails. I have that. I have those emails. He agreed that this theory that the galaxy is the world is wrong. One time when I submitted this idea that, because previously I also believed it, when I submitted it to one knowledgeable Burmese monk, he scolded me. He said, "What? No way. The world, the 4 islands, is in this planet. It's not the galaxy." And he was very, very strict. He was very disappointed that I had this view that the galaxy could be the world. I mean, the world with the 4 islands. But maybe it's totally different. As I suggested that maybe there's a portal, maybe there's a spiritual portal in the true flat world. And that portal would take us to this experience of this world with this galaxy, with this universe. And when you apply psychic powers, such as the power of 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗲, the disc of air, then you are supposed to fly directly to the heaven, according to Visuddhimagga, the guide of meditation teachers, or so I call it. And so it is actually possible to fly directly to the heaven. So that means you would fly directly towards Mountain Meru. So I suppose that on the way, as you would be flying by the psychic powers, you would be passing the spiritual portal. You would then find yourself somewhere above the island of the humans, above the South Island, because you have passed through the spiritual portal into the different form of the universe. And from there, you would further continue to the top of the mountain Sineru. So for the time being, that's how I like to explain it. I'm not really sure whether that's what I believe. Why Buddhas? Okay, next question. Why Buddhas are born in human realm? First and foremost, because they decide to be born in human realm. But it seems that the human realm is the best for the Buddhas to address the majority of living beings. Because, humans can become enlightened, but some humans, when they see deities, they die because the intensity of the pleasure of what they see and of what they hear, smell, taste, and touch from the divine world can be too much, and they may die. We have that in our scriptures. According to our scriptures, according to Vinaya, there were apparently monks who prepared extremely pleasurable forms, sights, sounds, and smells, and tastes, and things to touch to another monk, so extremely pleasurable that the other monk actually died. But because it was arranged so that the monk dies, the monk who arranged those very pleasurable forms, sounds, and so on, he actually committed the grievous transgression of killing a human, and the monk was several monks. There are several stories like that, and they were expelled from the community of monks. So if the Buddha were a deity, he would not be able to help as many kinds of beings as he can if he is a human. So I think that's one of the main reasons. And the Buddha wants to increase his efficacy to the maximum. And as a human, he can do that. All right, so that's for the time being all what we have. It was a pleasure to answer your questions, to share with you my knowledge. I wish you all that you're happy, healthy, that you're successful on your way towards Nibbana and in everything else you're doing. And hopefully we'll meet again next week. May you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you soon attain the eternal bliss of Nibbana.
Concludes today's lecture on the workings of karma. This series